Hey Facebook friends, it's Marianne here, and I want to talk to you guys about something that is a true travesty that is occurring in the United States. Today is May 5th. Many of you know it's Cinco de Mayo, but it is also the day in which we acknowledge the murdered and missing Indigenous women, many across the United States, as well as Canada and other places around the world. In the United States alone, we have 5,715 different cases that are known to have places where women have been murdered, missing, trafficked, raped, and no way to follow up. In fact, out of those 5,716 cases, only 16 have ever been researched by the Department of Justice. Think about that. If you had a case of any other demographic in the United States, and you just had 20 cases, they would be all over the place trying to find out what's going on. But because this is happening on Native American reservations, people are not paying attention. We use the red handprint over our mouths because it represents being silenced. Red because, among other things, it is one of the most powerful colors out there and you can't miss it. So we're trying to make something that is silent be noticed. The murdered and missing Indigenous women in the Americas is something that no one wants to talk about because it's so tightly entwined with the gas and oil industry. And that's because wherever people are drilling for oil, they create man camps. A man camp, for those who don't know, is when a men-only temporary camp settlement is set up so that there's a place for the men to live who are working in the oil and gas industry. The problem is that wherever these man camps are set up, the rate of missing and murdered Indigenous women skyrocket. Now, there are things that can change that. For example, if you have unannounced visits by the CEO, it goes down. If you have unannounced visits by police, it goes down. If you change those camps from being man camps into family camps, meaning you design those camps to have wives there, places for children to be, it goes down. If you combine all three of those things, the rate of missing and murdered Indigenous women plummets. Now, this would not take but a little bit of money. If you actually look at what the oil and gas industry make, this is really nothing compared to their bottom line. There's no reason for any oil and gas industry, major corporation, ExxonMobil, Shell, Citgo, you name it. There's no reason for any of them to not do the basic due diligence in terms of prevention of women and children that are murdered and missing. There is no reason why we cannot take these steps to prevent cases like this from happening all over the United States. And there's no reason why we should be silent. There's something that I've been working on for the last number of years, and I'm grateful that I've been able to make headway through some contacts of mine. I want to do a shout out to Kalu and Gormo, and a shout out to Nay, who are both connected me with leaders of oil industries. Also a shout out to Bill Shireman, who is also shining a light on this and working with me and working to connect with more CEOs of oil industries because, a lot of these CEOs have families. They would hate it if their wife or their daughter went murdered and missing. And there's no reason why they shouldn't make those changes. One of the main things I am trying to push for is for these companies to be willing to come forward and to make a pledge that they should take those necessary steps of unannounced visits by the CEO, unannounced visits by the police, and also pulling together camps with families as opposed to men-only camps. I base a lot of this information on Celia Acosta, who is the CEO of a major corporation that was actually putting the train tracks between Dallas and Houston. And similarly, to do this, she had to build temporary camps. And I asked her, why is it you don't hear these kinds of facts of murdered and missing Indigenous women where you set up camps? And she said, because of those three things. I make unannounced visits as the CEO. I have police make unannounced visits, and I make sure they're family camps. And sure enough, the rate of murdered and missing women and children just plummet. So why can't we make this a policy worldwide? And why can't we, as a public, start trying to give our business to those oil and gas industries that are taking the time to do things right? I have met CEOs who are trying to do the right thing, and we should be rewarding them. My hope is that we'll be able to have some kind of symbol that we can give to those companies that are doing the right thing, so that those of us who are women and of the female persuasion can give our business to those people who care about the fact that there are women who are going murdered and missing and trafficked and raped. So these are the things that are happening in our world today, and I just wanted to make sure that this day didn't pass without shining a strong light on it, because nothing changes unless people like you and me make a stand and say this is unacceptable. I am aware and have met with people who have access to the highest levels of oil and gas industries, and there are many CEOs that are frightened about what this could do for them. They're more frightened by their contemporaries than they are by the public, and they're worried that it could isolate them in their business, they could lose their business, or worse, people who are making money off of the murdered and missing Indigenous women could actually be a big problem for them. Well, as the public, we need to do our job to make them feel safer about doing the right thing. And the best way we can do that is to draw attention to this and say it is not okay for only 16 cases to have been researched out of those 7,516 cases. It is not enough. We need to have all cases researched by the Department of Justice. And unfortunately, underneath the Trump administration, I do not see that changing. I see it getting worse unless people like you and me draw attention to it. So today, thanks to all those who wore red, thanks to all those who are refusing to be silent, thanks to all those who are remembering that we are on land that was originally in the hands of Native Americans throughout the United States, thanks to all those who recognize the plight of Native Americans and what they've had to fight for so long, and the fact that so many of them are on land that the current administration is trying to find really tricky ways to go in and lay claim to. I don't want to get off track on that topic, but let's just say Native American reservations are in the fight for their lives right now to hold on to what is rightfully theirs. And that is not making it any easier to protect the murdered and missing Indigenous women around the country. And please remember, this is not just something in the United States. This is a problem in Canada. It's a problem in Mexico. It's a problem around the world, wherever Indigenous communities are, including in Africa. So thanks to all of you for taking the time to listen to this, and thank you for taking a stand for murdered and missing Indigenous women.